Welcome to the Sustainability Nugget podcast. I am Rarasu Maraibi.
And I'm Tosin Folorunsho.
On this podcast, we learn about sustainability by discussing various related topics while focusing on three pillars: the economy, the society, and the environment.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Sustainability Nuggets podcast. It's just Tosi here today, and I have a very awesome guest with me. His name is Graham Hill. He is the founder of Carbonauts. The Carbonauts hosts live virtual workshops that help people optimize their lifestyles so that we can build a greener future. Graham Hill is a leading figure at the intersection of entrepreneurialism, innovation, and sustainability. One of Fast Company's 100 most creative people in business, Graham is sought after for his ability to clearly communicate how we can all create a simpler, wealthier, greener, and happier planet. He has presented at many prestigious conferences, including 2 main stage TED Talks that have reached over 10 million people. He founded one of the first internet consultancies in 1995, which he grew to 60 people before acquisition. In 2004, he founded the groundbreaking website treehugger.com. This website remained the most trafficked green site for years. It sold to Discovery Channel and has served billions of page views. Later, Hill founded Life Edited, a small life consultancy featured by the New York Times, Dwell, Discovery Channel, and the Minimalists documentary. He is now passionately dedicated to scaling the Carbonauts into a global movement. And how I met Graham is actually interesting. So I got a random message on LinkedIn where he said, "Hey, hi, I host sustainability dinners with 14 people at Venice Beach. Are you interested?" And I was like, sure, but I'll go with, abundance of caution. And also, yeah, I was planning my escape route in my head.
You were.
But yeah, I went to the first dinner with so much uncertainty. I didn't know what to expect, but I've been to 6 now so far. It's always been a pleasure to go back and just meet great people doing awesome stuff, trying to create solutions. There are so many creative, innovative people that I've met, also top people in top leadership positions. So thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. So glad you can come, and you've been such a big help also. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I want you to tell us about yourself and the journey that led you to what you do today.
Okay, great. I'm undercover Canadian. I grew up near Montreal. I studied product design and architecture, so about 7 years of design school. But I think at heart, I was more an entrepreneur than anything. So I sort of call myself a designpreneur because design's a big part of things, which really it's part of everything. But I like the design stuff a lot. You sort of highlighted some of the stuff in my bio there, but I was basically fell in love with the internet at a very early stage, and really got after it with my cousin, and so we built a company building websites in the mid-90s, and so I did very well from building it to 60 people and selling it, and allowed me to be choosy about what I wanted to do, and what I wanted to do was environmental stuff. And so I've been focused on that since 2000. So it's been at this point about 23 years. I worked on a plant-based air filter for a little bit, sort of sciencey project, science and design. Didn't get to where we wanted to go, but learned a lot. And then I had the idea for treehugger.com in 2000. And the right tech came along. The blog technology sort of just made it feasible to do. And so we did it, and we pushed very hard, and Meg O'Neill, who is now working with me at the Carbonauts, was a big part of that. And so in 2004, we launched it, and we were the biggest green site on the web, the most trafficked green site on the entire planet for a number of years, and really helped show people a beautiful, exciting, positive green future, and people found a real place for them. It's hard to see it in context now, but then environmental media was really pretty terrible, and we really helped change that. And so that went great and is still going strong. Billions of web pages later, treehugger.com, highly recommend it. Great newsletter. And sold it to Discovery in 2007. Discovery Channel, now Warner Brothers Discovery. Worked for them. They were fantastic, and they took really good care of it along the way. Then I did Small Living for about a decade, amazingly, via Life Edited. So I did small transforming apartments, so doing more with less, essentially. So Murphy beds, folding out over couches, moving walls, folding tables, just the less but better. So the right stuff and not too much of it. And in that process, got on the cover of our projects, got on the cover of Dwell, built an off-grid home, water catchment, solar, electric vehicles, composting toilets, also Small Living in Maui. That's Life Edited Maui. If you want to search that, it's beautiful. Did great. It was in the New York Times. And did a lot of media and really promoted the idea of small living. So that was one of my TED Talks, was on sort of living with less. And
I saw that.
You saw that? And people are really, our society definitely has a desire for that, intuitive sort of desire. And so we had a lot of fun, did some great work, really helped promote the idea of small living. I was in the Minimalist documentary also, which was cool. And but ultimately I realized I didn't want to be an architect nor a real estate developer, and those were really my two options there. And so I started working on the Carbonauts, and the Carbonauts was 3 years ago. We started back sort of end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And the idea there was that in 2004, when we started Tree Hugger, it was about mainstreaming green. So sustainability wasn't mainstream. We wanted to help make it accessible and contemporary to the normal average person. And so we did, but cut to 2019 or now really, and people get it. Awareness is really high, and climate doesn't care about awareness. Climate doesn't care about our feelings. So climate really cares about action. And so we really have to move our society to action. It's not sufficient to have great solutions if people don't take them on. And it's hard for solutions to come down in price unless you get volume. And so we need to encourage people to move from awareness to action, build the social norms that we need so that we can move our whole society to a greener way of life, to a really beautiful, healthy, plentiful green future that we know is just around the corner. And so our mission at the Carbonauts is really to help people get there. Our main focus at this point, I think we'll do some direct to citizen stuff, but generally we work with large corporations. So we have fantastic clients at Amazon and AT&T and Toyota and Chanel and big companies, and also some medium size and even some smaller. And we work with them basically to help their cultures move to cultures of sustainability. So we've got a long way to go in a short period of time. And if we're going to get there, you got to have your culture on board, rowing in the same direction. And you got to, every job's a climate job. And so that's the reality. And so companies, if they're going to fulfill meet their goals, which are quite aggressive, many of them, 2025, 2030, 2035, 2040, we got to get your culture on board. And so we lead these highly interactive, highly engaging, cameras on, live, cohort-based workshops of all kinds, from half an hour, an hour a week for a month, an hour a week for 6 weeks, focusing on what we call the big six. These are the 6 most impactful things for most people to reduce their footprint. The average person, you talk to them about sustainability, they tend to talk about straws, and there's a real magnet for conversation which drives it towards packaging. And yes, we need to fix packaging for sure, but it's a really small part of the problem. And for the average person, they should be focused on the big 6. And the big 6 are things like switching to renewable energy, reducing the miles that you drive if you drive, and electrifying them. moving to a more plant-rich diet, reducing food waste, starting to compost or upping your game there, reducing and optimizing flying. Flying is actually a big part of most of our footprints. Buying high quality offsets, as many as possible. And really importantly, starting to share about this stuff, in order to build the social norms that we need to help move our society in the right direction. So we use a carbon calculator for some of our workshops. We do stuff on sustainable fashion, on low plastics living. We also do stuff focused on the company itself. And so we usually develop programs for our clients that have a drumbeat of content, workshops, could be newsletters, could be social media, could be book club, media club, all sorts of things, panels, talks, game show things, all sorts of activities, meeting people where they are in a judgment-free way and trying to move everybody along their climate journey. And so that's it. That's the big thing. We have a team of like 7 people. So far, we teach all over the world. We've taught in over 30 countries. And we get really terrific ratings. We do quick surveys after every single hour that we teach, and we get net promotion surveys. We fall in the great category, so we do well. And we're just out there trying to make a difference. And so that's Carbonauts, and I'm 100% full-time on that and more.
That's awesome. I love how you mentioned that you educate and teach people in a judgment-free way, because I think that's one area that it's like a thin line when you're trying to facilitate behavioral change. It's like, how do you get people to change without actually making them look like, oh, you're the bad guy?
Right.
And
Yes,
yeah.
I think that's very important. I don't think we get anywhere with shaming.
Right.
You got to make people feel, and if you think about it, like wherever you are on the climate journey, there are people that are further ahead on that journey, right? I've been at it for 23 years. My friend Bonnie Nixon has been at it for 35 or 40. Am I a jerk because I'm not where she is? No. I just came to it when I came to it. And so I think that's really important. So we're very focused on, it's not about shaming, it's about supporting, meeting people where they are, and finding the stuff that appeals to them and helping them just move along their journey.
Yes, and you mentioned that one of the 6 areas that you focus on is reducing flying. What has been people's reaction when you tell them fly less or don't fly? Like how do you pass the message to people?
Well, I mean, we don't listen. The answer very well might be don't fly, for sure. Like, and I think we all actually know that it is. Like, things that graph is continuing to go up, right? And so I think we look at some of these more extreme, and we sort of poo-poo it and stuff, but they actually may be being really smart. If we listen to all of our institutions, what they're saying, and look outside the window at the crazy weather and stuff, all the things that are happening, it's actually very logical. That said, we don't push for that. So we help people understand the footprint of flying. And it really depends on the demographic. Like, my general friends tend to fly a fair amount. The average American flies like once a year. And then there's certainly countries where the average person is going to hardly fly, may never fly. Right. So it's highly dependent, but we encourage people to just be conscious of it, understand, wow, it's a really big footprint. And there are a whole bunch of things we teach in terms of what you can do. You can fly direct. You can fly economy. It's a lower footprint if you fly economy. We want more people in the planes, and so the less business class and first class, the more people are getting from A to B. And when you divide up the emissions, that's how it all works. So that's one. You also can stack trips together. If you have two trips in the same direction, if you make 2 separate trips, it's going to be 4 legs. If you put them together, it's going to be 3 legs. So you save a whole flight, which makes a big difference. So there is a bunch of stuff you can do, and there are greener flights. You can also select greener flights now on Google on Kayak, and I'm sure and a number of others. So,
Yes.
but yeah, people are. No one wants to be told what to do, and no one wants to reduce their freedom, and so it's a tough one.
Right.
But if you understand it and you do want to make a difference, then if you're conscious and do a little forward thinking and planning, then you may be able to skip a trip or part of a trip, and that does make a real difference. Skipping one longer flight is going to be the equivalent of all your recycling for a decade for sure. So focusing on that is a good thing to do.
Cool. So I had a question here about your TED Talk, Less Stuff, More Happiness, which you gave in 2011. I remember 2011 was just when I was entering college. So when you talked about your journey in sustainability, like you've been doing this for 23 years. I've been doing this for, I would say, 10 years.
Not bad.
Yeah.
You're a little
And
younger than me, so that's good.
yes. My main takeaway was when you mentioned that we want stuff that we're going to love for years and not just stuff. Do you
Right.
remember that part? Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
So, I reflected on that a lot, and for me, it's like 12 years later, it still looks like there's an overabundance of stuff. We're still producing a lot. There's more
Yeah.
electronics, more clothes, more fascinating, innovative gadgets to
Yes.
purchase, and it's become even easier to dispose things. So, do you think that as consumers, we are collectively making any progress towards a greener future?
Yeah, in certain areas for sure. I don't know if our consumerism has has gone in the right direction for the last while. I mean,
Yeah.
it's incredible. I know you have a big focus on sustainable fashion, but I think that sort of the perfect example to illustrate where we are now compared to where we used to be is looking at clothing. So clothing, literally, people used to put clothing in their wills. So clothing was so well made, and they took such good care of it that there would be pieces of clothing in your will. We've gone from there to, from what I understand, some of these big fast fashion companies, the design requirement for their clothing is five washes.
Yeah.
It
Wow.
has to last 5 washes. So we've gone from clothing in your will lasting
To
literally generations
just 5 washes.
to 5 washes. And it's such a disaster. So it's tough that we are society, for the most part, we are a bottom line culture, and we've through Madison Avenue, et cetera, have become very good at understanding how to make buying stuff desirable.
Right.
And then we've made the process as easy as possible, to the point that you can just a couple clicks on your phone and
And you're
something's
done.
coming to your home. So
Even if you don't have the money now.
it
There's
becomes very hard to resist.
Yeah.
One little slip up, and then you got some stuff coming at you, and then so it's tough. And so but we've absolutely made progress on lots of fronts: renewable energy, our vehicles. There is some better sustainable clothing.
Right.
There are some great products. There always have been out there that last a long time. So there's lots of stuff, and some very exciting stuff. Small nuclear, perhaps, fusion, direct air capture. Like, there's some incredible stuff that isn't here yet, but is looking like it may get here. So lots of progress, and lots of going the wrong direction also.
Yeah, it's both ways. Yeah. So, there's a term you use when when it's time for introduction at the dinners that you host. It's called social engineering. Can you tell us what it means and how that applies to all of the companies that you have led, both Three Yoga,
I would put those in different categories. So when I talk about social engineering at the dinners, what I mean is, sometimes a host or a person will sort of take control and force people to do things. And
Right.
that's what I mean by social engineering, which I generally tend to find annoying, or at least annoying initially, and then maybe I get into it. And so it's funny
Yeah.
that I do it by getting everyone to introduce themselves and all that. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by social engineering. So
Oh, okay.
I wouldn't say that's a thing in terms of my companies. I mean, I would say building social norms is something that has definitely been
Yeah.
part of all of my companies, and that's just trying to make certain stuff cool and certain stuff not cool, so that our society heads in the right direction. Yeah, so I definitely think about that, and it couldn't be a bigger thing with the Carbonauts. So we're trying to move our whole society, but we're also with our companies, the companies we work with, trying to move the companies. And so
Yeah.
unfortunately, a great number of people are concerned and care and believe in the challenges of climate change, but a smaller percentage will actually lift a finger. And so our challenge very much within companies and within society at large is, how do we take the smaller number, 5 or 10% of people, and grow it until it reaches probably around 25%, when the whole thing will start to flip. That's our sort of general theory of change. So find the change agents, the early adopters, support them, inspire them, educate them, help them talk about what they're doing, and gain some momentum such that it grows, and it hits about a quarter of the population at that point. I think intuitively we all know that many of these things are the right thing to do. And so when there's enough of a trend happening, enough of the population, like a quarter of it, then I think that's when everyone starts to really change and the whole thing really flips.
Right. And the reason why I asked about that term is because so after multiple times when I heard you say it, I went to search for the meaning.
Oh,
And yeah, so I mean it's in the context of information security, it's like a deceptive, manipulative way of getting individuals to
oh,
divulge information. But
ah,
yeah, but in the terms of social norms, it actually means using centralized planning in an attempt to manage social change and regulate the future development and behavior of a society. So
oh,
it
wow, okay,
yeah, so that's
wow.
why I felt it really does apply to what you're doing with Cabernet.
Oh yeah, yeah, good point. Yeah, I guess it
Yeah.
did.
Yeah,
That's
because
funny.
the term I'm mostly familiar with is social ecology and trying to
Mm,
get people to understand, care about the environment, but also, include communities. Like it's more than just being about money or the environment, but how do you communicate issues to the community, to people, and
mm,
get them to reach them at the point that they are, and then get
mm-hmm,
them to make change.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, social engineering. I've just come
Yeah.
to love that word.
Yeah,
So that's why I asked you about that.
that's good. No,
Yeah.
thanks.
Um,
I understand now.
yeah. So how do you define and measure success with the workshops and the courses that you run in the Cabernet?
Various ways. I mean, I think the stuff that we are excited about, because we're a bunch of eco nerds, is people taking action. We're excited about people taking action, so actually really reducing their footprints and doing things. I think we're excited when we see the light go on a little bit for them and people get jazzed and really start to get into it. I think that's what gets us really excited. Uh, our clients definitely are excited about the employee engagement aspects of this.
Mm,
And so particularly in today's world, and particularly the youth, are very interested in working for companies that have values, that have purpose, that have meaning. And so by working with the Carbonauts, it helps illustrate that the company does care, and does have some values, does have some meaning, does have some purpose. And so I think that's big. So we help them attract and retain and help team building, and just
mhm.
help overall morale, and getting people excited, climate literate and climate enthusiastic, and
Yeah.
contributing to eco innovation at work, and really helping, being supportive and moving stuff along and not dragging. So we certainly look at net promotion surveys. NPS. That number is very important to us.
Okay.
And the basis of that is basically one question. It's like, how likely on a scale of 0 to 10 would you recommend this workshop to someone, to a colleague? That's the question. And so basically, if you're really, if you're into something a lot, and you'll refer it.
Yeah.
And so that's a really good basis to evaluate things. So Bain put that together, I think, a long time ago. And so we use that. So that's one of the key core things we measure.
That's awesome. Is there any way you confirm that your students are actually making consistent lifestyle changes?
In our longer courses, we have ones that are an hour a week for a month or 6 weeks. They run the calculator at the end. They run at the beginning and at the end, and so we see the differences. It's self-reporting, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of people are lying. There's not much benefit to them. There might be a little exaggeration. We may look at figuring out ways to confirm some of the data. It's just sort of a heavy lift, and someone's got to pay for that, so it's a little tricky. But I'm confident a lot is happening.
You have listed the 6 steps, but I just wanted to ask, what would you say is the first basic step for someone who is a first timer just trying to make one single change? What would be the first basic step towards a greener lifestyle?
I mean, listen, if you want to be strategic, then it's one of the big 6. But really, I think it's anything that feels like the right thing, no matter how small. It's just like getting started is the main thing. And so, start with something that you're attracted to. Maybe you want to start composting. Maybe you want to move to more of a plant-rich diet. And so you're going to do meatless Mondays, or you're going to do vegan before 6, or you're going to do weekday vegetarian.
Yeah.
Maybe you're going to start to carpool, or maybe you're going to start looking at getting an electric vehicle, or if you can afford it, switch to renewable energy at your home or apartment. There are a ton of things you can do. It's just sort of what you're attracted to. Maybe you could be biking more. Certainly skipping a flight or stacking a trip. There's so many things that you can do that really make a difference.
And to add to that, I think for me, I have recently been trying to connect financial literacy with sustainability. And so because I work with college students, and so when I want to start that conversation about reducing waste or just being sustainable in general, the first thing I think about is, how do you save money? How do you save more money? How do you spend less? And also understanding, like, people have different financial capabilities. And so what fits your budget, and how can you ensure that you are not spending what you don't even have in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great place to start. Yeah. Absolutely.
How do you think individual and collective action can drive big corporations to change? So I think one thing I love about the Carbonos is the fact that you are actually targeting the big companies, which you mentioned Amazon will, for, most times they've definitely come under fire for promoting, buying more and being not exactly climate friendly. And so in dealing with individual behavioral change, which if more people get on board, it becomes collective action. Mm-hmm. How can that drive big companies to change?
First of all, I think Amazon's actually doing a lot, and I think we'll see more and more of that. So I think they're somewhat unfairly singled out, and like there are a lot of convenient ways to buy things these days, and but we're all part of it, and so I think that leads to the second point, and that is, humans like to point fingers. We love to point, and we always like to point in a way that away from us, that somehow allows us to not have to
I'm
do
not the bad
anything.
guy. They are the
Yeah,
bad guy.
someone else is.
Yeah.
They should be fixing this. It's not mine. I don't have to do anything. So we point at government, we point at corporations, corporations point at individuals, et cetera. Everyone just loves to blame the other person. The reality in terms of corporations, like there is like a meme that goes around that, the top 70 companies are responsible for, top 100 companies are responsible for 70% or blah, blah, blah. We are those companies. We work in those companies. We buy from those companies. We invest in those companies. Like, these are not some like foreign, like evil people. Like, they're all part of it, and most of us, the vast majority of us, are complicit. So like, people will be like railing on about like the lumber companies or the oil companies. It's like, you got to be realistic. Like, are you telling me you've never used non-sustainably forested wood somehow, or paper, or you haven't your life hasn't been affected by, or you haven't used oil and gas? Like, I literally all of our plastic, our roads are made of oil. All of us have driven in gas cars. Like, we're all complicit in this thing. And so I think we want to be supportive and help these companies transition. And companies are made of people. And so if you can change the people inside them, that's how the companies themselves are going to change. And listen, we're going to need sustainability execs and groups to make all these great plans. But we also need a bottom up, and you're going to need everyone on board, everyone rowing in the same direction. Every job's a climate job. And so it's really about moving everyone along their climate path. And we think that that's probably not going to happen from some pre-recorded video. It's going to happen by connecting and doing it in community, in cohort base with a bunch of people, and getting inspired by others, and it being live and interactive. And so those are the main tools that we apply.
Great. Awesome. Which I was going to ask about the dinners that you host. Where did you start, and what really led you to starting those dinners?
So we probably started like 8 months ago, and then we've done about 35 of them, I think. And they're like 15 people, informal. I've done them. I have a big table at my place, 12-foot table inside and 12-foot table outside.
Right.
So we did a lot of them in the backyard. Now that we do them inside, we've also done them in other places our staff lives: Seattle, Vancouver, Boston. We've done some in New York City while traveling, and San Francisco. And the big idea is, I used to do this back in 2000 in my loft in New York City. I always loved bringing people together. I used to do it around sustainability, and then I certainly have done it just personally. I like doing it. And so I'm somewhat new. I was 19 years in New York, and I'm only 4 or so in LA with COVID and some time in Maui, et cetera. And so I didn't have a deep network of green sustainability people. And so I wanted to develop. So that was the basic idea. And then they just were super rewarding. We just get people together, and everyone hangs out and has some drinks, and then some great Indian food from this place called Mayura comes, and we sit down, and
it's great food.
Break bread. It's really good vegetarian food, and then someone talks sometimes for 5 or 10 minutes, and then we go around the table introducing ourselves, and it's just rewarding. And I get to see people, help people make connections, and I connect them all on LinkedIn and via email, and they will become friends and work together and work on projects, and it's like really, really, really rewarding. And we're doing one. I'm excited. Next week, Catherine Hayo is coming to one, so a real eco celebrity, so that's going to be fun. And then we should be doing some at Green Biz in Scottsdale, and awesome. they're really fun and very rewarding.
Yeah, that's the connection and networking part is definitely a huge one for me, because sometimes it's hard to connect yeah, we can go for conferences, but they're so formal. Like you see all this,
Mm.
especially with the caliber of people that I've met at your dinners. It's like if I met some of those people in a conference, I might not work up the courage to talk to them. And so in
Yeah.
yeah, so in that casual mellow setting, it's easier to actually see them as people that I can relate with, and we're in the same industry, or not necessarily in the same industry, but we have the same goal. We're all looking towards creating a greener future. So it's thank you.
Oh, you're
for
welcome. So
hosting
glad you
those.
can.
Yeah, those are
Yes.
awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah. Do you have
Um,
any final words of wisdom to share on our podcast today?
I mean, I don't know about
So
words of
imagine,
wisdom. I mean,
yeah,
listen, I would say, yeah, in the same vein as every job's a climate job. Yeah, everybody's got to get
yeah,
involved.
that's
So, whoever you are listening to this, you have an important role to play. And I'd say a part of it is taking action and having some responsibility at your home, at your work. But another part is just talking about it and making it okay for other people to talk about it, so that it becomes very topical and it becomes very okay for people, and we help do your part in helping build the social norms.
awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Well,
of
thank you,
course.
Graham, for coming to the podcast. It was great talking to you. And I will leave links to both of his TED Talks and also the link to the Cabinet website, and also other great resources that you can read up about Graham.
Great.
And this is the end of the podcast. Thank you all. See you in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Sustainability Nuggets podcast. I am Rausu Maribi.
And I am Tosin Folarunshaw. If you enjoyed this podcast, please leave a rating and review on wherever you listen to your podcast.
You can also show your support by signing up for a small donation to help sustain future episodes. You can find all relevant links in the description. See you in our next episode.